Okay, folks, we've got a new lesson today on crime and deviance. This one is going to be done a little bit different. It's going to be part live and part recorded. So you'll be watching this after we've already started the lesson collectively as a group. Now, the page that you should be on in your crime and deviance booklet is 43 at the start. And obviously there's a mind map about functionalism there, which if the lesson has gone correct already, we have already discussed and talked about in the live, so we've already done that. And that should hopefully mean that you will be able to get to page number 44 in your book, and you should be able to complete that yourself. Okay? So, hopefully, we're happy and we're up to date with functionalism and everything that we could possibly know about it, which will mean that now we need to start looking at functionalism as a theory and what it's going to say about crime. Okay, now we've already looked at potentially, and you will have written some reasons potentially why crime is functional. And I think we've spoken about a couple of these already before. The idea that crime creates jobs, the idea that crime might show people what is right and what is wrong. And I think those are the main ones that we've come up with. On the bottom of page 44 as well, why is crime bad? And I think there are lots of reasons why crime is bad, and it'll negatively affect society, and it will potentially be harmful for victims. And functionalists, remember, they see the world in a rose-tinted way, so they're going to see crime as inevitable. It's always going to happen, and it serves a function. It can be good and it can be bad, as we'll see, but it will serve a purpose in society. Now, if you move on to, because your page 44 should be completely filled, if you move on to page 45, what you will hopefully see, if I've got it in front of me, is this. And this page is going to cover the functions of crime. Now, according to Durkheim, who is a functionalist writer, he's kind of like the founder of functionalism. Durkheim, you might not have come across him before. We might have touched on him a little bit previously, but Emil Durkheim, he provides a foundation for functionalism. And what Durkheim's going to say, and we can break his work down into suggesting that crime has got 6 functions, and your 6 functions are written down there. Act as a warning device, help society progress, provide employment, safety valve, create social cohesion, and reaffirm the boundaries of what is acceptable. Now, 2 of those we might be pretty comfortable with, and we're going to look at these functions of crime now. So as I'm going through these, you've got this PowerPoint attached as well, but you can pause the video now and you should be filling this out as we go. So the first function of crime is a warning device. Now, warning device is something that you get on your car, and it tells you when there's a problem. Okay, so if you see a warning device on your car, the warning alarm goes off. My usual joke that I say for this is, if it's amber, you keep driving until it goes red and then you stop. But in theory, if you get an amber warning device, it's the car telling you something's wrong with the engine or something's wrong with the car. If you get a red one, it's even worse. There's definitely something majorly wrong. And this is the first function of crime that Durkheim would suggest. Okay? Crime acts as a warning device to let people know that something is wrong. So the crime of riots, and you saw it recently in Manchester, in London, in Birmingham, maybe 10 or so years ago, when we had the last time we had a kind of national riot, showed us that perhaps there was something wrong. Perhaps there was too much inequality, or perhaps there was problems with the police, or perhaps there was material deprivation, and people felt, or relative deprivation rather, should I say, and people felt deprived. You see all these news channels and videos of fancy TVs and tablets and all of that, and people couldn't afford them, so maybe riots, when that was happening, they just went out and got them. So it tells you that there's a problem. On a smaller scale as well, truancy, so individuals playing truant from school might tell you that there's an issue at home, or there might be an issue at school. So the breaking of rules, the deviant behaviour, the criminality will act as a device to show people that perhaps there's something wrong. The second thing it's got down there is to act as a form of progress in society. So some crimes will challenge the norm and make society better. And the best example that you can give for this, if they ask you for a couple of functions of crime in the exam, so they might say explain 2 functions of crime according to Durkheim, you must give an example. And the best example of this is somebody like Rosa Parks. Okay, so when Rosa Parks doesn't give up a seat on the bus and doesn't move to give it up to a white person as she's supposed to, right? She gets arrested, but that sparks off the kind of civil rights movement in America. She challenges the norm, she commits a crime, and then we see society progress to a point where we don't have, racially discriminatory policy that is in place. Now, I'm sure lots of you could say, well, there's still discrimination and racism. True, and there is. But remember, the Equality Act 2010 says that there shouldn't be. And even though that's not policed brilliantly, there's no laws at the minute in our country and in America that are racially discriminatory, like there was when Rosa Parks decided to not give up a seat. Third one is jobs, really straightforward. We've already discussed this quite a few times. You wouldn't have police, security, prison guards, probation staff. Maybe you might find without crime there's less, there's less need for nurses and stuff. I don't know, because there's less fights on a Friday night. I'm not sure. There's got no need for judges and things like that. So crime provides all of these people jobs, quite straightforward. Safety valve. Here is one that you won't have come across before. So our functionalists would say that a little bit of tension will stop greater problems in society. So if you release a tiny bit of tension, your safety valve exists on the bottom of your boiler. And if the boiler's got too much pressure inside it, you release some of the pressure from the safety valve and your boiler doesn't explode. Now, functionalists would say that there are lots of bits of evidence for this. So releasing tension stops greater social problems. And there's a famous functionalist study by a guy called Kingsley Davis who looks at prostitution and says that acts as a form of a safety valve. And it allows married men to go out, sleep with the prostitute, and then they don't cheat on their wives and they don't break up the family. So that's a functionalist one. You could also put on there like little delinquent and deviant behaviour that you get up to in groups of young people. So smashing a few windows might prevent you going out and robbing the local co-op. Social cohesion, so bringing people together and bringing communities together. Now you see this, an example could be the Manchester bombing. We saw that happen and it brought a community together. There were concerts, there were tattoos, there were lots of positive things going on in the community that was like everybody stand tall against terrorism and against this atrocity. Obviously, not everybody, because straight after terrorist attacks, we do see amount of hate crime go through the roof. So it doesn't work perfectly. Remember, these are just theories. You can disagree with them. That's not a problem. And our last one is one that we've talked about before, reaffirming the boundaries of what is right and wrong. So, you see that somebody is sent down for dealing drugs, for committing a murder, for theft. You know what I mean? You see them get sent down. That shows you that we are all standing as a community solidly against this person. The boundaries are, if you do this, that is wrong. And therefore brings everybody together. Hence why functionalism is a consensus theory. It likes this idea that we're all being brought together. But these are Durkheim's 6 functions of crime. So you pause it now and make sure that you've written these down with an example for each one, because you could be asked it in the future. Okay, hopefully you paused that. You've got all of the functions of crime written down. They're not too strenuous and difficult for you. What I've got here is a very weird slide. On the right-hand side, I've got a weird character from something called Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't really know what that is, I've got to tell you. If you do like stuff like that, happy days. On the left, I've got a famous piece of art by a guy called Edvard Munch. It's called The Scream. And this is going to separate a new word that we're looking at. So if you turn onto page 40, I'm hoping it's 46 now, is it? Let me just double check because I've got my document open. Yeah, it's 46. If you look at the top of page 46, we are going to look at a brand new concept, right? The guy on the right is anime. We are not talking about him. We are talking about Anno me. And this is me on a Monday morning. And that figure perfectly represents this state of anime. Now, Durkheim comes up with this idea. And anime is a state that you can get in. It's pronounced an-o-me, not anime. So don't say anime, anime. If you spell it right in the exam, they'll never know. So actually, it doesn't really matter. But the key is that you know that it's different from some Japanese cartoon. Now, Durkheim, who comes up with the functions of crime, also develops this idea of anime. And what he's going to say is anime is a state of normlessness. Now, we know that our functionalists think everybody in society agrees on the norms and values, but once you start breaking the law, once you start breaking the rules, you appear to be normless. And therefore, people who are committing crime are generally in this negative state. They are in a position of normlessness. And I think that looks like a person who is normless. If you imagine you being dropped into a favela in Brazil, so like a Brazilian kind of shanty town kind of village on the outskirts of a city. If I was dropped into that town, I wouldn't know anybody. I wouldn't speak the language. I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have any friends. I wouldn't have any family. I wouldn't know the culture. I would be totally normless. And the only thing that I could potentially do, or one thing that I could potentially do, is go and commit a crime to get myself food or whatever it was that I needed, this state of anime. So that is a good example of what we mean when we say anime. It's a generally negative state to be in. Now, individuals can be in it, but also whole groups can be in anime as well. And you can think, for example, going back to this idea of rioters, that when you are in a riot, you are in a state of anime because there's 100 people smashing up a shop. You all know that the norms and values should be that you pay for your, you know what I mean? You pay for your products from a shop, that you walk in through the door as opposed to taking a baseball bat to the window, right? So, and generally, anime and this state can be negative for society as a whole. So, even though functionists say there are some functions, there are still some bad things about crime. And it can be that you end up in this state. So that really concludes what Durkheim would say about crime. Yes, it is useful, but those who fall into some particularly negative states, and whole societies can fall into negative states, this is called anime. That's going to cause crime as well. Now, we've got one other person to look at today, and that person is Merton and Merton's strain theory. So, we were going to look at some cards and put some cards in order, but we can't because you're not in class and it's going to be really difficult to do that. And I don't want us to spend loads and loads of time here. I want to make sure that you can get to grips with the essence of the theory. So Merton's strain theory is all really about one very important thing. Merton's strain theory is about the American dream. Now, if you don't know what the American dream is, or you've never heard of that phrase before, I've got a very quick 30 seconds to show you what I'm talking about.
My view of the American dream is living in a nice house with a nice family, being happy.
The American dream is to be a millionaire. I hate to say it, but that's true.
For my family, it was to be able to work hard and to be able to really achieve, greatness.
I came here because I wanted to be someone in life.
It's giving somebody a chance to make a better life than they've had that they knew when they were growing up.
I might want to be a policeman or maybe even a doctor. And in America, I can choose.
And in America, I can choose. Okay, that's that weird little lad. I think it's quite cute, actually. So, the American dream. That is the issue for Merton. And we're going to talk about Merton's theory, which is called strain theory. Now, what Merton is going to say, and this is still on the same page, page 46, is that the reason that crime is committed is because of this goal of the American dream. And Merton is going to say that there is a strain that exists in society. Everybody is under strain. And the strain is between the goal of the American dream, which you can fill in your books, and something he says is the means, how you get the goal. Now, the goal of the American dream is shared by everybody, and I'm going to use the old dude, what he said as the main one for that. He says, the American dream was to be a millionaire. Okay? So being a millionaire is the American dream. A big house, a white picket fence, a pool in the back garden, 4 or 5 bedrooms, a Cadillac car on the drive. That is the American dream, according to Merton. And that's going to cause you some problems. Okay? And the problem is how you are going to... Hold on 2 seconds. Em, is that the door? And the problem is how you are going to... Sorry about that. I've got to keep recording here. Is how you are going to achieve this goal of the American dream. Sorry, I'm majorly distracted now. Was that the door? Oh, sounded like it was. Weird. Okay. Okay, so what is the problem with everybody sharing this goal of big house, white picket fence? Well, the problem is, as it says on page 46, and there's a gap for you to fill it in, not everybody can achieve the American dream. So you're not going to have everybody able to get a big mansion and earn loads of money and have all the fancy mod cons and a big old Cadillac car on the drive and a swimming pool in the back garden. So Merton is going to say that the American dream will cause you to commit a crime. And we can see here on page 46, and obviously this top bit for you now should be filled in. Everybody wants this, but not everybody can get it. And therefore, what's going to happen is people are under strain to get the dream. Now think about it almost on a line of a big elastic band. Right? I think about strain theory. Imagine this arrow is the strain. Right, at one end you've got the goal, at the other end you've got how you're going to get the goal. Now, if I'm Bill Gates' son, I'm under strain, but I'm under very, very, very small amounts of strain because I've already got millions and millions of pounds, so I'm okay. If you're me, you're at the other end, right? Because you're really worried all the time because you haven't got loads of money, and I haven't got loads of cash, and I haven't got a massive mansion with a swimming pool and a giant car. So I'm under a lot of strain. But happy days for me. You at home, listen to this now, are under more strain than me because you don't have jobs and you haven't got mortgages, right? I am closer to that American dream than you, and therefore I am under less strain. And what Merton is going to say is if the strain gets too great, you can respond to strain in different ways. And I like to think of it as though the elastic band snaps, and now you're going to respond to strain theory. You're going to respond to being under strain. And according to Merton, here we have it on page, the next one on, 47, there are 5 different ways in which people can respond to strain. 5 different types. You can conform, you can become criminal, you can give up, you can become a druggie, or you can act as a form of rebellion. Now, these are the 5 responses to strain theory. And the 5 responses are mirrored by 5 Simpsons characters. Okay? Homer, Otto, Fat Tony, Barney, and Bart Simpson. There are your Simpsons characters. Now, here is how we're going to organise those Simpsons characters. That's definitely the door. It was the door last time, you know. That's how I was right. It's the door last time. Not quick enough, was she? So, what you've got to do is you've got to put your characters into order based upon this little chart that Merton comes up with. So here are our different types: conformity, criminal, give up, deviant, rebellion. And here is their relationship to the goal and the means in society. So if I am a conformist, I accept the goal of success and I go about it in a legitimate way. So my means, my way of getting the goal is legitimate. And when we say legitimate, we mean legal. Okay, so I'm not committing any crimes to get my goal of the American dream. I might not have got it yet, but I'm going to try and get it in a legal way, and I want it. The other one, which is the next most popular one, is criminal, potentially. Or when I say next most popular, I probably mean the next most important. It's criminal. Now, if you are a criminal, you accept the goal of success and you go about it in an illegitimate way. So you want the big house, but you are going to go and try and get that big house through crime in a sneaky, illegitimate way. And then we've got the final three. The final three, there is the person who gives up and they reject the goal of the American dream. They don't want the big house, but they've given up on life. So they're just going to keep going. They're not going to commit any crimes. They just don't care. Off they're going to go through their life, not doing anything naughty at all, but they've given up on their idea of getting a big house and becoming a millionaire. Then we've got the druggie, and it stands to reason that your druggie is going to reject the goal of success because he doesn't care about getting a mansion. What does he care about? Drugs. And of course, what's his lifestyle going to be? Illegitimate, because drugs are not legal, so he'll be getting drugs illegitimately. And then finally, our trickiest one is the rebellion type. And the rebellion type is going to reject the goal of the American dream, but replace it with another. They're going to make another goal their most important thing. And all of the stuff that they're going to do will be illegitimate because it will be going against the kind of normal behavior in society. So what you've got to do is you've got to fill out this part using the information you've just been given on that PowerPoint. And then what I want you to do is try and see if you can work out which Simpsons character is which type, is which adaptation of strain theory. And you've got 5. So I'll run through them again and leave them on the screen. Now, if you're a big Simpsons fan like me, you just have to use the information that's in front of you. So there's loads of Simpsons episodes in there. So you're just going off what's in front of you. Homer, 3 children, wife, detached house, striving for more money and a promotion, works at the power plant. Bart, goals are different to others. Over time, he wants to be in the circus, a daredevil, a drifter. And he places value on his ability to be a graffiti artist. We've got Otto Mann, no desire to progress, happy to couch surf, drives the school bus for a minimum wage for his entire adult life. Fat Tony, owns a bar, he's a mafia man, so he takes part in criminal activity, uses this to buy his large mansion and house and fund his, obsession with fast cars. And finally, Barney Gumble, alcoholic, outside of society, he's never worked, no home. So these are your Simpsons characters. What you need to do is you need to put them into order. Which one of them is which here? This last page you are going to be sending me today. So I will want a picture of this complete graph, this complete table with your Simpsons characters filled in as to which one is which. And then what I would like you to do is fill out the bottom of page 47 as well. So here is 3 things that you've got to do. First one, which groups in society do you think experience the most strain? Now, I said to you that I was under less strain than you. So what might that tell you about what groups are most likely to experience strain? Think about what we did last week when we looked at crime statistics. Okay? Think about the group most likely to be committing crime. Maybe that group are the most likely to be under strain. So what does a person, what's the kind of identity, class, age, gender and ethnicity of these people? So that part needs to be filled out. And then what you've got to do is the evaluation of strain theory. Now I'm going to give you one of these and I want you to do the other one yourself. So strain theory has been around for a really long time, okay, and it's useful. It's an old theory and I still think there's a lot of good points to it, okay, because it does suggest reasons why people commit crime, and it's largely to get some money, to get the things that society values, hence why it's a functionalist perspective. In addition, it's unusual as it tries to explain why there are problems in society rather than looking at society as perfect like we see from our usual functionalists, absolutely. But there's a couple of problems with strain theory, and here's the first one. It only looks at individuals committing crime on their own, and therefore is going to ignore crime committed in cultures within cultures. What is your keyword that is missing there? And next one, furthermore, it only looks at working class crime and therefore ignores what else? It's going to be a problem. So if it's only looking at working class crime, what type of crime is it ignoring and why? Okay, so you've got to be sending me a picture of page 47 complete, and then we are almost done for the lesson. The final thing that you've got to do is answer the questions on page 48 in exam style. Okay, there are 3 questions and there are 8 marks. That means 8 sentences. So I'm not asking for a lot, but I want you to answer them in traditional exam style. Now, you can do this 2 ways. You can write it on the Word document that you've got in front of you and send me a picture like you did for the last thing, or you can ask me for a quiz and I can send you an online version and send you one out that you can fill online and send it to me if you wanted to type them up. It's entirely up to you, okay? But what I want to see is these answered in proper exam style. So, explain the meaning of the term enemy, 2 marks, it's 2 sentences. Explain how crime acts as a warning sign for the rest of society, 2 marks, 2 sentences. This one is explain 2 adaptations of strain theory and the reason for their behaviours, 4 marks. So that is because it's asking for 2 things, it's a 2-mark thing doubled. So you would be saying here, when you were writing it, 1 adaptation of strain theory is, and then you can give one of your 5 types, whatever it's going to be, okay? This group behave like this because. Finish that one, okay? And you're going to be doing that twice, okay? So use those type of sentence starters when you are doing this. You can pause it now if you want. I don't mind you using those sentence starters. That's absolutely fine. But think that's how you must be writing these and answering these. We need to be precise and concise when we're answering these exam style questions. Okay? So 3 things that should have been completed today in order. Thing number 1, we would have done it as a class together at start, is page 43, going over functionalism, what we remember about it so far. You will have then filled out that page yourself. You will have filled in that page using the handout, that page, using the lecture, this using the lecture, this top bit you will have done using part of the lecture and part of your own brains, and you will have sent that to me, and then you will send me the questions complete. So 3 things that I'm going to get to show that you've done the class today. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting a mark, is you? Right, so if you've got any questions, as always, I will be floating about in the chat. You can send these things to me on private message, so please get that done. And as soon as you've got the stuff done, you are free to leave. So the earlier you get through it, the better. But if you're taking your time, that's not a problem as well. I want to make sure that you know this theory. Okay? Any problems? Give me a buzz.